I'll wear this t-shirt.
Yeah. Can't quite see it. I can't remember who that is. Oh, bollocks. Hold on a sec. There we go. Let me listen. Not really, no. It's weird. Some things, yeah, some things pick up and some things don't. But yeah, your headset mic's pretty directional. I ticked off about 3/4 of my to-do list, which wasn't bad. Maybe. Oh, I mean, I kind of knew that was going to happen anyway, and good on Zelensky for telling them to go fuck themselves, because they weren't expecting that. We're already streaming an in-roll down, but in, yeah.
My phone.
And here we are.
My phone's gone off. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry, my phone's
Welcome to our.
My phone's going off. My alarm's going off. Telling me to fucking get up and do this thing, and I'm already doing it.
Yeah. Let's get the stereo recording going. Yeah.
Stereo recording.
Is there anybody in his house?
I hope everyone's having a lovely Saturday/Sunday, depending on where you are around the world.
Yeah.
Although saying that, I'm the only person in Sundayland. I think everyone else is in Saturdayland.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. Iron Angel is poorly this week, so our thoughts and prayers. Is that what we say? Is it thoughts and prayers? Prayers and thoughts. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Go to Iron Angel, who has the dreaded Logie. So enjoy your lying flat moment. Enjoy your day of Sabbath. Enjoying the Sabbath by lying flat. Yep. Yeah, that was my lying Sabbath. Yes, I had my lying flat Sabbath yesterday too. I would feel poor. I just always try to have a day where I lie down and don't do anything apart from nothing. I tried not to do nothings, which is good. Resets the brain. But yeah.
I'm just wondering if I can get the web chat up.
Oh.
View.
We go that way. This way.
No, I've got it here. It's all right.
You've got it. You've got it. Made it work. Yep. What was I going to say?
Let's see
Oh,
if
we were
I can
talking.
do
So we
that.
were just having a quick debrief before we started. And then we started early so we could have the debrief on camera because it was interesting. So as we record, as we record yesterday morning, and we don't normally do politics on the show, but this is insightful and interesting.
We do politics on the show.
We do politics.
I mean, trying to pretend that we don't do politics on the show is a bit much.
Yeah, we try not to do the roundup of the political thingo, but something interesting happened because we've been talking in the background about the best outcome of the current state of affairs, and we're both drawn upon the point of a stronger Europe is a good thing. Like Europe pulling itself, like, you know, up by its collective bootstraps. I know that allegory is wrong, but you know what I mean. Them supporting one another and making Europe great again, let's say, is a really, really good thing. And I was deadly impressed yesterday because I got up yesterday. I was talking to Zach yesterday morning, and in Australia, the news had just dropped as Zelensky being thrown out of the White House. And so I spent yesterday like fiddling around doing bits and pieces and listening to all the pundits, all the political spaces talking about what the fuck had gone on and what the outcome was. And as this happened, the rollback from European presidents, prime ministers, etc., everyone turned out in support of Zelensky. So could Trump have done anything better to drive Europe into the hands of a greener, sustainable, more collectivized, better future for Europe, including all the offshoot partners? Like Norway is not part of the, you know, England now is not part of the Europe, but it's still not. Britain is not part of Europe, but it is part of still the continent type thing. They're driving all those forces together type thing. There's even, I was listening to, as much as I hate both of them with passion, Rory Stewart and Alistair, whatever the fuck his name is, they're both ex Rory's an ex-Conservative member of the Tory party. Alistair is he was the ex-something or other from the Labour Party going back a good 10 years now. And even they were talking about the fact that like even the connectedness of like Turkey has turned around and said we will put fighting troops into Ukraine to support it because they cannot stand. They have a standing tiff going back to the Ottoman Empire with Russia, going back hundreds of years. So it's all, it's not good because it didn't just fix Ukraine.
Yeah.
And that could have just been a get the fuck out of Ukraine moment. Like it could have just been a get the fuck back out of Ukraine, end of conversation, or we will put the American forces in to make this fucking happen. But the outcome was still in some ways stronger. And in some ways, hopefully it lifts up all the other countries around the world. And that's really depressing to say because I know a lot of people listening and in our little like sort of club of miscreants are from the US, and it's really, really shit over there. And for that, I'm sorry. But in terms of like the outcome for the rest of the world, it's a bit of a net positive because we all needed to grow the fuck up and stop relying on US foreign aid and foreign power getting in the fucking way of us doing things for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing for everyone else to fuck up and man the fuck up, and that's the wrong word, to just grow the fuck up and get the fuck on with it type thing. Yeah. That was my insight of having a day off yesterday, and just I didn't really have a day off. My kiddo turned up and I had to cook her meals and stuff and pull the shopping away and stuff. But you know what I mean by a day off. I tried to do the Sabbath. I tried to honour the Sabbath as it should be honoured. And yeah.
Well, what are you calling the Sabbath? Because that's very dependent.
I try and do it on Saturdays.
All right.
For the historical reasons, but normally it gets screwed over by me having to be somewhere or do something because it's Saturday. But what I do is I try and take the idea of the Sabbath as in the literal like the Orthodox Jewish version of the Sabbath, and I try and do that as much as possible once a week. So I will turn light switches on. I will make a cup of tea, whatever something, because I don't view those things as being work. I think that's taking the piss.
Well, it depends.
But I try not to do any.
The level of orthodoxy you have for the Sabbath.
Level of orthodoxy we're doing. Yeah, but I do try and have that. I do try and be very, very distinctly aware that once a week, from sundown to sundown the next day, I try and have a day of rest. And that just involves like talking to you guys, doing bits and pieces.
I don't think you should go to church on the Sabbath if you are a religious person.
No.
I think you
I
should
think
leave
it
God
should
the
be a time of
fuck
quiet
alone.
reflection.
It's like God's rest
Yeah,
day too. I mean, I would
yeah,
be very
exactly.
annoyed
Leave him
if
the fuck alone.
those people wouldn't shut up.
I'm just
But having
I'm
shit
just astounded.
neighbours.
That's east over there, and the sun is shining on the western wall, and
Yeah,
I've got the most beautiful fucking thing behind me, talking
yeah.
about being aware of your surrounding, what's going on. It's fucking going. The light going through the trees is fucking amazing this morning. Um, yeah, that's it's one of the issues, and I picked it up. I picked it up from religious observations of watching other people and how, I think there's something to all of these. I think there's something to the orthopraxy of what the religious people do.
Mm.
There's something to the practice of doing these things, like, as an organization. I think everyone deserves a fucking day off a week. I don't think you should work. Um, yeah, it's not a fucking, it's not a fucking hard step to turn around and say that the world deserves a day off a week,
Yeah.
and that means you choose your level of involvement in that thing, and you choose what day it is as well. And I don't mind, but let's get the fuck on with it and just say that like everyone a week gets one day off a week. It's not hard to fucking, and we're not going to force everyone to go to church on the day. Spend all day fucking praying to the pagan idols. You're not even pagan idols, like the fucking Catholic idols. Always confuse me about Catholicism. But yeah, that's what I've been up to for the last 24 hours. And
Oh.
otherwise, I've had a nice week. Tilda was here, and then she wasn't here, but she come back. She's here for a few days again.
Mm.
So we've had a strange week of Tilda coming and going, but Tilda's around. I'm sure she'll appear later after the show's finished to talk to everyone who's around in live chat world later.
Mm.
And university started back
All right.
last week, so I've been busy doing uni stuff. Well, that's what I spent my week doing is reading shit for university. Because I have a selection of weird ass courses this trimester. I have a weird ass collection of courses all trimesters from going on forwards, because I'm doing two masters programs at the same time, and they don't really correlate or correlate. They don't really. The two streams of things, one is science and one is English lit, and they don't really conglomerate until you
I don't know.
realize that like English literature is talking about what is happening in the world, and science is talking about what's happening in the world. And then you go, oh fuck, I'm doing two streams of exactly the same thing, but one of them is like English literature is the fictitious tales of humanity, talking about where the fuck we are, what the fuck we're doing, what the fuck is going on, where the fuck we want to be, etc. It's the collective dream of authors and what's going on, the collective dream of the people around you. So I'm reading. What did I read this week? Ministry of the Future I read a bit of, and that's by Kim Stanley Robinson. It's all about, like, my whole literature course this trimester is all about the floods and climate change and what's going on. But yeah, and then a fascinating bit about what is literature. How do we define literature as literature's people doing studies of literature? Like, how do we define literature? And a whole lot of philosophy of literature stuff. That was all interesting too. If anyone would like the readings, ping me a message on Discord, and I will send them to you for gratis. I will send you the link to the reading list and all my readings.
Is poetry literature?
Yes, anything. The definition is not concrete, and we're still going through the definition because obviously it's like what is religion definition of like.
So
how do you define science?
is literature. So
haiku is literature.
That's getting down to the smallest possible atom of literature.
Yeah, and it's hard to like. There's always the edge cases. So I was thinking about it yesterday in terms of like what the edge cases are, and I was like, so when art history background, when I was doing, when we were doing art last year and the year before and the year before and the year before, I was very much into, I can't think what it's called, auto writing. It's the situationist did a lot of it, Dadaist did a lot of it type thing. It's like comes out of Freudian philosophy type thing. You just write whatever comes to my mind. And it's a stream of consciousness thing, so it makes no fucking sense because like your brain just like random firing with synapses, and you start writing down exactly what the fuck is going on. But even thinking about it and then you try and overlay the story. What you have a thought and you write down the thought. What are the things I see? What's exactly what's going on in my head? What can I imagine? What's going on in this scene? What's happening? Type thing. And then you take the next scene that just magically pops up in your head when you're not paying attention. And I understand not everyone's brain works this way, but I have one of those brains. Is visually turned on. So when some people talk about things, I visually see them. So then I'll write down.
You might need to move your microphone just slightly. Because you are cutting out just a little
higher.
bit.
Am I rattling?
Well, try that.
I don't know what's going on. Fucking internet. Try that. But yeah, so it's automatic writing, and then autodidactic writing. Is that literature type thing? And it's like, well, it comes from a fictitious place. It is a form of writing. It is like a form of fucking storytelling because it's what's going on in my head, and then what the fuck else is going on with the world. And it's a bit like, well, that's fucking interesting, isn't it? Because it does it fit or does it not fit type thing. And there's this, how does literature work? What are we going to include? What are we not going to include? Blah 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 blah. And there's no hard and fast rules with anything. Like, we're making up this as we go along as
Yeah.
good studymen, as good researchers. We're making up new stuff as we go along type thing, which is cool and interesting and fun. And that's why I keep going to university, because it's interesting, cool, and fun.
May I then
Um,
suggest a piece of media?
Please do.
It's a movie called Finding Forrester.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
about a hermit author that's written like a couple of really amazing books and then went into hiding basically in the New York projects where he's discovered by a kid. But they do
Yep.
that autonomic writing.
Yeah.
Weirdly, it's one of those things that goes through a few teaching bits within the book, within the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might enjoy that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's got Sean Connery in
Yeah.
it.
Oh, okay. That's who plays the title character when they put it into
Yeah,
the film as such.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
about a young kid that wants to be a writer, bumps into this Forrester guy who is a
Yeah.
kind of semi-retired writer.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Uh,
very, very cool.
And they make him say the word
Yeah.
soup a couple of times just for a laugh.
There's a film. I'm going to be really, really annoying now. There's a film with Danny DeVito, and it's set in northern Pitt town, and it's about a boxing club.
All right.
And I can't give you more than that. I'll try and think of it, put it in the show notes when I think of it. But it's this
Mm,
guy who like he runs a boxing club, and then his whole world falls apart, and and it's then him falling off and getting back together type of thing. I'm
mm.
sure it's Danny DeVito. That's going to take ages. I want to say it was done by the guy who did. It's very much in the same vein as This Is England and uh, oh fuck, In the Midlands.
Mm.
What's that guy's name in the Midlands? Who did that? Sean Meadows sounds right. Hang on while I find Google. Not Google.
Yeah, This Is England is one of those things like Starship Troopers and Fight Club where people deliberately misunderstand it, unfortunately.
Completely. Yeah, you've only got to read the back. Yeah, Shane Meadows, not Sean Meadows. Shane
Yeah.
Meadows. This is England. This is England. The whole thing from start. There's a film, and then
It
there's
makes me want to push people in front of
four
a
series.
tram when
Yeah,
people
yeah.
totally
When people
deliberately
misquote it.
misunderstand This Is England,
Yeah.
like Fight Club.
Yep, yep. Well, you can't have gay allegory type thing on TV and not expect people to do it. This is England has also got a couple of my favorite English actors in it. It's got Joe Gilgun in it. And it's also got Vicky McClure in it, and both of them, I don't think they can do a fucking set wrong.
Mm.
Like, I just think, I mean, for starters, like, Vicky McClure is like a modern day fucking Winona Ryder in my head.
Mm.
You know, you'd pray to ask that person to the fucking dance. Shane Meadows, born in '72, English screenwriter, writer, actor, best known for his works, This Is England and its three sequels, but also A Room for Romeo Brass was very, very good,
Mm.
and I think it doesn't. People don't watch it because it doesn't stand out. It's very, very, but it's very, very interestingly done, and it stars some amazing UK talent in terms of when it was done and what was going. Once
Mm.
Upon a Time in the Midlands from 2002, absolutely fucking brilliant. Yeah, he's a fascinating screen director, writer, actor, blah 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 blah. But yeah, I would, if anyone wants a start point that isn't too serious and is quite fun and is a bit of a situational thing going on. Once
Mm.
Upon a Time in the Midlands, 2002, well worth a listen and a watch.
Mm.
Yeah, absolutely fucking brilliant thing. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
There you go. That's the first one I've got. The first one I can think of off the top of my head.
I've been watching a bit more of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Which Star Trek are we talking about? Old Star Trek, new Star Trek, somewhere in between Star Trek?
just hopping
It must be.
around. So there's
Mhm.
so my media recommendation is not so much Star Trek, but the YouTube channel of a chap called Steve Shives. STEVE space SHIVES. And Steve's a bit of an interesting character because he also does a bit of political stuff. Largely pushed into it. I don't think it's his fault, but a bit weirdly like racist Doctor Who fans, like racist and homophobic and misogynist Star Trek fans are the people he
You, que-
goes
you, que-
after.
you question how the fuck you get there from
I don't know how you
from
get a racist Star Trek fan. I just don't. It's like not only have they got black people, but they've also got gay people, trans people, and aliens.
well, like
I don't know how
I mean,
you maintain your racism along with
yeah,
Star Trek.
along those lines.
I can sort of see it with Doctor Who. I can kind of see the misogyny. The downside is, and this is my theory going onwards, is most long-running TV shows that get to like 5 to 7 seasons need the first season or two to sort of like get the flywheel going to the point where they don't have to explain quite so much shit.
Yeah,
and I think it's the required exposition and the unsurety of how the actors are going to be in the role that kind of fucks the writers a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's a fucking, it's a hard fucking thing to do. It's let's face it, like, making TV is not the easiest thing in the world to do.
No.
It's not a fucking simple task. It is difficult.
And,
it is,
writing, if somebody
wrote,
wrote,
it's a box of monkeys. It's a box of monkeys of typewriters in a fucking in a fucking room, hopped
a
up
10-hour
on
movie,
caffeine.
Then and you would say that was a magnificent achievement, even though some bits of the movie are a bit slow. But when it's a TV series, this is why you shouldn't really watch TV as it comes out. I know it's tempting, but you should like leave it a little while till the whole season's there and you can watch as much of it as you want to. So I'm currently watching back through The Expanse, which I think is just one of the best TV shows ever made. It's just brilliant. It has its moments where it's a bit slow, but everybody's given it absolutely everything. The set designers, the costume teams, the script writers, the sound design guys, everybody. There's some really, really good bits. There's a few scientific wobbles, but there are only a few MacGuffins. Everything looks like it kind of works. So when somebody fires a missile and they don't have it blow up if it overshoots its target, it's just going. It's just out there. But space is so amazingly big, the chance of it hitting anything are pretty low.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the weapons, like the rail guns, that's literally a right now modern naval rail gun.
Yeah.
The PDCs are basic, which are the point defense cannons on the ship, are basically sea whizzes. The close-in weapon systems that ships use. Except they're all the way around the ship. The acceleration. Ships are basically designed like office buildings. So they're thin, but if you turn it on its side, that's where the gravity is. So the engines are at the bottom of the office building.
That's where the
Engineering is the next floor. The floor after that is tactical. You've got the pilots at the very top of the building. And everything's designed around being okay in multiple directions of movement.
So that things can rotate, so you can spin and turn and twist.
If they've got to go somewhere, they've got to turn the ship completely around and burn to slow down to get there. So there's a lot of that. So that was really fun. Adam Savage was really into it. And I just think it's one of the best sci-fi TV shows that's ever been made. The downside is, as with all really good stuff, they chop the money over time. With each subsequent series, and they don't tend to spend more on it. And it did swap around various networks as well, so it could get made. So they didn't stick with one TV network. They
were forced. They were forced to put it over to different networks to make it keep going, type thing.
When it's not perfect,
it can often be the death of things before it's a good step.
I mean, they don't have FTL travel. They've got really, really quick travel. So they've got this special kind of nuclear reactor that provides a shitload of thrust. Which means that you can get to Mars in a couple of days instead of 18 months. It's pretty cool. But it's like humanity's got most of the way out to the edges of the solar system. You've got people living on the larger asteroids that are really there, like Eros and Ceres are actual big ass planetoids. So they've hollowed those out and they're making stuff in 0G. You've got Mars is in the midst of being terraformed. Earth is massively overcrowded, but it at least has, universal basic income.
Kind of.
Yeah, no, it actually has it.
It has a universal basic income that doesn't work.
Well, it's not because tremendously functional, And it is hard to kind of get a job.
Yeah.
But it is possible.
Which is kind of insane when you realize that, you know, Marx was right, and it doesn't take a lot of thinking to say Marx was right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a theory of anti-capitalism, and that is, I go with that's right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really easy thing to prove as well.
Well, I mean, you can say poverty is wrong.
You can say it's a theory in the way that gravity is a theory because we don't understand it, and evolution is a theory because we haven't got it all worked out yet. In the same way, we have the theory from Marx, and it's only part of what Marx was talking about, the fact that you know, all wealth creation comes from humans, but it's really easy to prove that thing to be correct.
It's got a few,
like 99% of the time,
truisms, and it does work in a world where people aren't pricks.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
you can leave so much more of Marx's argument. Yeah, I'm talking about that one specific vein of Marxist analysis, like you know, Marx actually doing Marx work in Capital. I'm not talking about the rest of Marxism for anyone following along at home.
I think when you talk about Marx,
anti-communist years, they won't work.
You also need to talk about people being pricks, otherwise everybody comes off as a bit naive. It's a bit like
everyone's a fucking prick.
Green's law is, if your plan starts with the phrase "if everybody," it's probably not going to work.
Yeah,
you know, that's why I keep going on about building a small town that works on those principles, and everybody's blissfully fucking happy and working 10 hours a week. Yeah. And then somebody goes, well, why can't I work 10 hours a week? It's like, oh, well, you got to...
You fucking can.
You just got to not be a prick. And you've got to be very careful about letting pricks live there. Yeah, you're going to be a prick, live in capitalism, live in the worst kind of nasty capitalism. But in the meantime, let's meet everybody's needs. You know, let's start with the bottom of Maslow and work our way up.
Yeah, completely.
Maslow is not one of my pieces of media this week, because like a lot of people... they write big, thick books to justify their
5 second
their existence, and basically, I get that there needs to be the working out.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that you could have your big boy's book of dealing with reality.
You can have the book
and
of
one
proof.
Page could be Marx. One page could be the alleged words of Jesus Christ. One page could be the Buddha. And you know, you only need like 10 pages. That might be a fun project for anybody out there. The dealing with life, just like a little ring binder, and it's like, okay, we've got the ring binder. Here is the art of war with a 2-paragraph description of what each bit means, because that still works. Here is the general principle of relativity, the general idea of evolution. You know, a bit on generalized electronics.
You want the summation of the Pearce Cyclopedia going back a few weeks, giving you a 1-page exposition on like all of the famous theories of theories going back.
Yeah, a general idea of how big we think the universe is.
Give us the Pearce Cyclopedia of, like, you know, 1-page explanations of all of these fucking thoughts.
The Book of Modern Existence with a history course in it, a maths course, a physics course, a biology course. This is how cells work. Everything's made of them. You know, here's some wacky shit. You know, like the actual biomass of Earth and what the percentages are and stuff like that. So you can just understand, you know, the general percentages of populations of all the countries on Earth. So you can like get a real feel for how small a population percentage voted for Trump. You know, working systems around the world. Like a big list of they got that right. They fucking do that, and it's better than anywhere else. Yeah.
Things to write.
Probably, anarchist handbook. You know, you're just like, all right, okay. Here's your basic survival shit.
Yeah.
Get out of the fucking wind.
Get out of the fucking way.
Yeah, off the ground.
What have I got to talk about? All right, then. Along similar lines, I'm going to bring up something that irks me. It doesn't irk me. I want to see more of it. Sci-Fi Masterworks collection, the Harvard Classic Literature series, the Teacher Self books. I haven't got any pile of books here, and they're all in the other room, and I'm not fucking going to get into it.
The Sci-Fi Masters Classics, if you're looking for them as a high street purchase, which I don't recommend because it costs 3 times as much.
Yeah. buy it all secondhand. Like I'm not saying what I'm saying is that genre of collective, like the Harvard Classic Literature series is a great version of what I'm talking about type thing. It's like someone at Harvard sat down and said, what are the principal, like if we were to tell everyone to go and read these like fucking 100 books, what are the 100 books? And Sci-Fi Masterworks is the same thing but set in sci-fi. There's also a fantasy version of the same thing, but I've never read any of them because I don't read fantasy books because I'm a bar humbug. And I think along the same lines is the teach yourself, like the older ones rather than the more modern ones. I'm going to like the mid 2000s would be about where I'd cut them off type thing because there's some absolute junk in there now. But the teach yourself books along those similar lines, especially the ones that have been republished and republished type things, they're a good overall introduction to a thing. They're a good overall introduction to like Sci-Fi Masterworks. There's some absolute fucking behemoths of like artist work in there type thing. So if you've got nowhere else to go for, where does that idea come from, or where the fuck do I start with reading or doing something or other? I think they're a great place to start. Harvard Classic Literature series has literally got like every bit of like classical literature according to Harvard in it type thing. So it's like, if you were to go and like, find the first year reading list of like, in every university's like, first year, second, third year, like fucking reading course list for literature, and then compare and contrast them all type thing, you'd have a bunch of different stuff, which is like what certain lecturers want to specialize in. But then you would have a bunch of crossover and overlap, which is considered to be like, the canon of English literature type thing, or the canon of classical literature. And it's like, and it's really important to read this stuff. It's really important and fascinating to like, get on. And whether you read faster than you listen, or whether you listen faster than you read, like I'm not trying to put I'm not saying they have to be books, you have to read them. What I'm saying is go and find audiobooks, go and find a fucking, go and find films that are good remakes of films type things of this stuff, and go and try and sap it, get into that fucking what's going on, and how it fucking works. But yeah, like the series or collection books are brilliant type thing. And I include in that your teach yourself books. So I think they are the general purpose introduction to things like English literature, like the equivalents of English literature. But it's what's the series on, like, how do I fucking know how to do carpentry and know how to speak Esperanto and know how to do the basics of first year physics, and all that stuff is contained within a teach yourself book, which is really, really fun and exciting. There is another series that I can't remember who did it. I think it's Oxford. They've got the mini guide, the mini introductory guides too, and they're also worth a look up if you can find them at the op shop type thing. They're only thin. There's one on consciousness, there's Buddha, there's all sorts of things, and they got leading academics to write a novella type style thing of what's all the important things, and they're dead quick to get through type thing. You could also include in that series of books then the classics of like the Penguin, like black cover and orange cover series of books, the old paperback series runs of things. If you want to pick them up, there's nothing better. But again, don't buy this stuff new. Go to fucking your recycle booksellers, go to your op shops, pick up stuff as it randomly comes through.
Weirdly, there's a you might be near a branch of it. There's a spin-off from HMV when they started falling apart a little bit, or it's a spin-off of Our Price. It's one of those big record stores, but they actually sell Sci-Fi Masterworks. I think they're 2 for £6 or something. That's probably the cheapest way to get them. I've just looked on eBay for everybody. If you do want to get some Sci-Fi Masterworks, and it is a great range of books, it's really good. They really carefully pick out those. So that's probably currently, if you're prepared to buy 2, is the cheapest way. But eBay has them between £4 and £5.
Yeah.
So and they've got like a pretty big collection, or just go to World of Books, which is a
World of Books is all recycled. Well, they're like a seller, but they recycle out of
it's all pre-owned, so they buy it in box. For instance, they got Band of Brothers, the 6 DVD set, for £3.50 delivered.
Yeah, which is insane. Absolutely fucking insane.
Great piece of TV.
It is a great piece of TV. Yeah, it's what's the one that's got Tom Hanks in it that runs before it? That's not Band of Brothers. That's Saving Private Ryan. I think it's Saving Private Ryan. Someone's going to yell at me in the chat.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan is kind of like where they met the guys that knew about what happened to the 101st Airborne. Steven Spielberg immediately went, let's make a TV series then, because it's too long a story.
Yeah. It's too long story. Yeah. I stopped watching war films in the 90s, because they stopped making things like The Eagle Has Landed, and they stopped making war films with people who'd been in conflict in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. They stopped doing that, and as far as I'm concerned, the Guns of Navarone, The Eagles Landed, as like the 20 years in between those, but anything in between those series, that stuff to me. The Rats of Tobruk is another great one from Australia. I can't think of the name of the director from Australia, but The Rats of Tobruk is another brilliant one. Lawrence of Arabia is worth a rewatch. Worth a rewatch. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really early like war films that are all made by like people coming directly out of conflict, using the skills they've learned in making things, and then going out and making films. And all the people fucking stage extras are all people that were actually in conflict, and it's fucking fascinating. Which I think is when you have to put everyone through a boot camp, you're losing something. It's like, no, go and hire ex-Marines to go and do this fucking job. What's the one with the guy? There's a modern day version of one that's absolutely fucking brilliant. Jarheads, I want to say it is.
Jarheads. Singular.
Jarhead.
Yeah.
That was a film when you look, someone got their fucking muse on with that one. Like, that's a modern day one. That's modern day fucking film. What, mid 2000s?
Well,
maybe it's
linked to that.
Mid 90s.
If you like Jarhead, because that's just 90 minutes of your time, go and watch Generation Kill.
Yes, Generation Kill was also good.
That was also pretty good. Yeah.
Yep.
And very funny in places.
Yep, and very funny in places. I mean, all this stuff is, yeah.
But quite a lot of actors from the 70s and 80s, sort of really famous actors, were in the Second World War.
Yeah, and a lot of them then, and that it's, it follows them and they follow it. Some of it's, it's a very different way of looking at. If you go back and watch the original sort of like, black and white, and then early color films, they are a very different going of what's going on type thing. Before the James Bondification of fucking TV movies as action plots.
I mean, as a tangent, I also watched The Punisher, which was updated. The Punisher's quite an old character. It sort of like goes back to like the late 60s, early 70s in Marvel Comics. And the initial iteration of The Punisher that was just back from Vietnam.
Yeah.
And they do, in the comic books, explore whether he's truly sane or not. And the only good adaptation of that comic book was the recent TV series.
Yeah.
I say recent, but it was about 4 years ago.
The
Marvel TV series, The Punisher, is well worth a watch.
2017 to 2019, I think, is the one you're after.
They did 2 seasons of it. Yep. And I thought it was really good. I didn't rate the movies at all, because there were 2 movies we don't talk about. They were shit, but the TV series is pretty good. Well, the movies completely miss the point.
Yeah.
The entire point of The Punisher. But The Punisher kind of takes place, the TV series takes place after Frank Castle tries to resign. If you want to watch the earlier story to that, you need to watch Daredevil, the Marvel TV series Daredevil, because it intersects with the Punisher story in the most recent season, but that's probably like 2016 or 2015.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, there is a great roundup. I'm gonna mention their YouTube channel now. It's Wiki Weekends with Carl, and that came out of the Facts channel, Fact Fiend, which Carl Smallwood wrote, and they do some. If you want the background without the drag, add some really really interesting side notes. Probably like probably superior to the side note we go on. Carl Smallwood doing stuff on YouTube. Yep, absolutely fucking brilliant. And it talks about the Punisher, talks about all these classical films. I think the other one you could mention there is Red Letter Media as well. I still go back and enjoy.
Yeah,
when I want to remember what
happened
really
in a
film.
I for them because they were going to get. It was on the cards that they were going to get to interview William Shatner, which is not an awesome thing in and of itself, because he is a bit fucking senile now and says a lot of really weird shit. But given that 2 of the guys are massive Star Trek fans,
completely,
and I think they get too wrapped up in I didn't think this was any good, you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
But
that's classical film training for you.
Yeah. But Red Letter Media nearly got an interview with William Shatner, which would have made their century, basically.
Yeah.
Even if he said some wacky shit, it would have been a fun thing to watch. But unfortunately, the person that had the in with William Shatner showed him a parody thing that they did. I think it was called like Nerd Watch or something like that. And he goes, well, these people aren't serious. And it's like, I think all of them have degrees in film production.
All of them have film, like all of them have film degrees, like either film production, or they actually did like film studies, like I did. They all have film studies degrees. They've all worked on major films. They've all worked in the film industry, and then they have a YouTube channel where they just talk about films. They're more qualified than most people.
I'd say if you're going to go to Red Letter Media, start with Red Letter Media Review, which is RE:VIEW. Review. So it's like a review of something that's a little bit older, where they talk about and they'll do roundups throughout the year, including a lot of the art films, some of the films that you might have missed, stuff like that. And then if you're just in a nihilistic mood, watch Wheel of the Worst.
Yeah.
Which is them. They get sent loads of VHS cassettes, and some of them are bizarre instructional videos from the 80s.
Yeah.
And those things are really fucked up.
Yeah. No, they do some hilariously funny shit.
Yeah, I totally back you on the Red Letter Media. I've been subscribed to them for years.
Yep. I have to go back in and just sort of play catch up for one weekend. Yep. Yeah. What else have I got on my lovely list of things? I mentioned all those things last week. Something you're not going to find without finding it secondhand. Here's a book to go and find secondhand. I think it's a very interesting book. It goes back to AGI and how it's a conversation set in the I think it was written in the early 90s, published in the late 90s. Thigmoo, 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 which stands for This Great Movement of Ours, which is a reference to trade unionism, which most people will not fucking get. It's written by E. Bryan, Byrne. You'll have to find it secondhand. There is a copy of it on archive.org. I'll link to the copy on archive.org if people just want to download it on an e-reader and read it then.
I've got a physical
It's what happens when... Yeah, I made Zach buy one. When capitalism, neoliberalism, celebrity culture, and AGI actually meet. And it's just a fascinating insight into what the fuck happens, the conflation within post-modernity, post-Thatcherism, post, we're still living under a neoliberal construction, but it's very much based in the author understands the tenets of neoliberalism, understands the tenets of old school leftist movements in trade unionism within the UK, and then what came out of those things. But then it intersects with exactly what's going to happen when, and it's a great little premise, what's going to happen when AGI kicks off and what's going to fucking happen. And it's not depressive, and it doesn't sideline the issues as such. It goes down a very, very interesting path, which is what makes me say, go on and read this fucking book. It never got a big, it was an English author publishing in England. I have only ever found it secondhand. I never saw it like on a major run type thing, and I only ever saw it secondhand. So I can't say a lot of them were ever. It was never mass produced, I think, and I don't think it's on many people's radar. I think, but in terms of a fun little science fiction jaunt that you'll knock over in a week of slow reading type thing, Thigmoo by Bryn, well worth checking out, and it's like the antithesis to. It's the antithesis to Terminator. It's how do I have what's going on now? How do I have class consciousness within that? What's going on now? And then how do I look at the future and see what the fuck the positives can be and the outcome can be, and how the fuck this can be a positive change for what's going on type thing. But yeah, and it's just a great little jaunt through science fiction land. But yeah, yep, yeah.
My recommendation, it isn't really media, is have a play with DeepSeek.
Yep.
It is only text at the moment, as far as I know. But that is pretty interesting. I recommend that.
You've been having fun?
Well, I mean, I think it is very interesting if you want a comprehensive answer. I mean, I've only installed it on my phone. The next plan is to get it running on a computer somewhere.
On a computer somewhere?
Yeah. I've got to go through my X230s and find because I've got a stack of about 6 or 7 of them, and basically assemble one out of the bits, with a hard a hard drive and a set of memory, and fire that up. So I will be doing some research into that, but I think it's quite interesting. They built it pretty cheaply. And
they built it very cheaply. And
fucking hilarious. They built it for $6 million, and then as soon as they launched it and gave it away basically for free, OpenAI accused them of stealing their data sets, which is pretty hilarious.
Which is comical as fucking fun.
People instantly saw through that and ribbed them about it. You stole all those artists' work.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose there's something to be said for if you had the DeepSeek,
model
code, and then you built a large language model based on everything that was copyright free.
Yeah.
And then you compiled a list of world events. You could build
Wikipedia includes it. Wikipedia includes that list of things. So that's and that the training data model, as best as I can get it, is the whole of Anna's archive is sold off. They use that as one of the training data models because it's just chockers full of actually published works, and then Scilab data, which is also universally run. Excuse the cars going past. Is also run off Anna's archive, Zlib, whatever you want to call it, type thing. LibGenesis was the original name for it. I think it's been taken over. That is the principle, and then you pull. Then people are pulling the whole of fucking Reddit, they're using the APIs to scrape Reddit. If you remember going back a few times, that's the whole of Reddit is somewhat interesting, but it's a junk file in my humble opinion. It's people using English vernacular or language vernacular in a way in which, to my mind, if I had the choice of how the fuck you would train a large language model, I wouldn't choose to do that. I'd run it twice over the fucking English literature stuff, rather than running over Reddit type thing, because I'm not interested in the responses that Reddit's likely to give to where an LLM is likely to be. LLMs are not where the end of AGI is, not where AGI starts, not where the end of AGI begins, type thing. It's very much a subset of what the fuck is going on. You have to go and look at all of the other interesting stuff that AI is doing at the same point. You look at stuff like breast cancer research and where the fuck they would be without AI in breast cancer research and cancer research in general. You look at where they're going with chemistry research finds. That's where AI is interesting. Beyond.
Oh yeah, and medical diagnosis.
It is fucking fun to play with DeepSeek. I also find it comically funny. I'm going to bring this up because it fucking pisses me off. Both my universities, two different universities this year around, both my universities, but I can talk to Deakin, to anyone who wants to out me as to where I go to university. I go to Deakin down in Melbourne. Both have come out with, you may not use AI in any version and set, etc., type thing, right? You just may not use it. We do not want you to use it. It is not provided for you. If we find you using it, you will be fucking held up in front of the accessible board type thing to say you used AI. You're not allowed to use AI. We told you can't use AI. You now don't have any marks in this class, and we're going to put you on suspendment for your courses type thing. Basically, you lose your degree. Now I snuck through under the previous ruling, which was we don't want to talk about it and we won't go forwards, and then subsequently they've brought this in as being a thing. But I just find it comical that at the same time they're doing that, the university is actively doing research into how these things work. If you just talk about LLMs, I was part of a study they were doing research into how students are using LLMs at university. At the same time, they're telling all the students you may not use LLMs at university. So my response to the researcher was, I was using LLMs because I was doing research because out of my own
large language models.
I was studying large language models to try and understand how the fuck they can be used, what they're good at, how they work, because I'm interested in them. Because I'm interested in this thing as something that comes out of English literature, because it comes out of scientific study, and I'm interested in where the fucking world is type now. I'm going back 2 years type thing into a massive time period in terms of what's going on. Gen 3.5 OpenAI just been released was what I was talking about when I was using it last type thing you know. And subsequently, I had to switch, and subsequently I stopped because the university said you may now not use Grammarly, you may now not use OpenAI, you cannot use this, you cannot use that. But yet, at the same time we're doing that, right? Adobe is stealing every single creative artist's work out of the university-backed usage of Adobe products. Yeah. Open Office, Microsoft Office is stealing every single word that I write into Open Office and using that to train an LLM. If you go and look at the fucking, we will use all the data you use.
Is that Microsoft Office or Open Office?
Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
Right? Open Office doesn't send anything to anyone.
I was going to say, it'd be pretty hard for Microsoft to steal everything you typed into Open Office or LibreOffice.
No, LibreOffice. So LibreOffice doesn't do this, right? But it's fascinating to me that like, but then, so we're promoted as being like, you get a free copy of like, of Microsoft Office, right? Do your work in Microsoft Office. This is what we want to see you using in type thing, But just in using Microsoft Office, fuck, it's hard to say it without saying it the wrong way around, because I'm so used to saying Open Office when people fucking ask me what to use. When using Microsoft products, they steal your fucking work, they use it to train it, right? I think. And then also, in the background of what's going on, there's an OpenAI like training model running behind it type thing, trying to interfere, like Mr. Clippy, the fucking clip icon, interfering in everything you fucking do, which you can't turn off.
Yeah.
Well, you can turn it off. I'll point everyone to Atomic Shrimp in terms of how to get around fucking turning it off, because it's fucking bullshit that it even exists. Yeah. Because, like, so if I write a presentation, let's say I write a piece of work for university, right? If I use the things that they're talking about me using, I have used AI, I have used the language model in the background of what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So therefore, I've actually broken the rules of the university in doing that thing. But the university says that I must use those things to do my course, but they're saying you can't use these things because it's like the biggest fucking thing. And it's like you tell this to the university, and the university just shits themselves and go, we don't want to talk about it. Like we can't talk about this type of thing. And it's a bit like, all you need to do is change the software that you use on a day-to-day basis, your advisement for software. All you have to do is turn around and say, students will now be required to use LibreOffice because there is no AI within LibreOffice, and there never will be, because it'll never fucking happen. Someone might spin off a version of LibreOffice that has an AI that they can connect to, but the root version of LibreOffice will never have fucking AI in it as a general it's a fucking word processor. It does word processing. It does what it's supposed to fucking do. Yeah, it's exactly the same as opening like fucking Vim or fucking Emacs and typing into Vim or Emacs is exactly the same fucking thing. All it does is allow you to do layout afterwards. What you see is what you get. First day in fucking IT class. Yeah, but we've so lost the art of doing this that that's what they fucking should be telling students. And it's like, no, you can't even work out the sanctity within your own fucking message to go and do this stuff. It's fucking annoying. It's truly fucking annoying.
Even the spell checker is in any Word, any Office thing is a little bit in the going towards artificial intelligence.
In the vein of, well, they've all been turned over to now. As far as I understand it, all Microsoft products now use it in the background to run the grammar check, the spell check, They're all using those models. Has now been put into the latest version thing. Conversely, LibreOffice doesn't do this. It does have a grammar checker. It is nowhere near as good. Let's fully admit the thing type thing. Like, training LLMs to do grammar checking is a fucking boon, right? They do they don't work. They work better than what grammar checkers in LibreOffice work in. Spell checkers, those things have existed for the longest time ever, and you can just run fucking a spell over shit and it fucking works. Like, you don't need a fucking AI to do that, using a large language model to do that stuff. But interesting stuff. We live in interesting times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to build.
We live in a time where people give away this shit for free. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So get it while you can get it.
Yeah. Download your model of DeepSeek before someone makes it a better yet, download DeepSeek and download the how to make your own fucking AI training module bits from the guy. I can't think. It's not Sam Altman. the guy who used to work, who actually did all the fucking science research, he published a whole bunch of YouTube videos explaining how he fucking builds this stuff and how it fucking works.
Yeah.
Going through it step by step. Download all those fucking videos. Make your own fucking AI that actually fucking does something type thing. Use the power that we have to go and do these bits and pieces now yourself, if you want to do it type thing. If you want to go and play in that, if you don't want to go and play in speed, don't fucking play in it. Go and write fucking.
Yeah.
Well, I've signed myself for fucking the endless cycle of writing fucking literature novels and not using fucking AI. And trust me, what the fuck comes out of my fucking data ass brain is way more fucking interesting than what comes out of fucking DeepSeek most days. Speaking about things that have to fucking happen.
Yeah. It's an interesting technology. The sooner you figure out how you can make it useful for you, the better.
Yeah.
But I've seen job applications that say if you use AI and they detect it, that they'll cancel your application.
Which is funny as fuck because they use
AI to go through the job applications. AI
to fucking clone to go through job applications. So it's just like, so what you're telling me that you don't want someone who can do the thing that you're doing in a HR department, coming in and working in the HR department to do the thing you're doing in HR. What? That doesn't make any sense. It's just fucking silly as fuck.
Yeah.
Yep. My lighting.
They want to use AI onto you rather than you use AI onto them.
Rather than the other way around. Yeah, exactly. In exactly the same way that in exactly the same way the university is head in sand.
Yeah.
Fucking ostrich bullshit is exactly the same thing. And instead of this, just employ everyone doing useful fucking jobs. There's enough fucking useful jobs that they're doing in the fucking world that we're not fucking doing.
Yeah.
Let's get on with that instead.
Pretty much.
Yep. Yep. What have you got else on your list of things?
I watched the William Gibson adaptation, The Peripheral, again. If you haven't seen that, that's a super interesting thing, of which there is a second season coming, which I'm looking forward to. It's essentially nice. The world goes to shit in one timeline. Like, it's not all one thing. It's a whole series of events that take place that cause the world to lose a lot of its population. Things are destroyed. People use augmented reality to deal with being
what's going on,
say, London. So if you've got the augmented reality filter on, everything looks like really nice and really artistic, and London's got these giant statues built into buildings and all sorts of nice things. Everything's clean and tidy, and there are people walking the streets. But when you switch it off, a large chunk of it's fucked, and there aren't that many people walking around, like actual real people. Everybody's got implants to maintain their immunity from various diseases that are rocking around, all that sort of shit. But because that's just one timeline, and if you have a quantum computer, they've worked out how to data tunnel back to a different timeline. So in an alternative America, capitalism has really kind of fucked shit up. Inflation has gone rampant. People basically 3D print the shit that they need. Soldiers have been upgraded with augmented sensory perception and team cohesion and shit like that. So the sister of one of these Marines that's got all this weird wet work in them is recruited to essentially permit in what she thinks is a VR game, which are one of the only things that have become hyper realistic. So her job, quite a lot of the time, she works at a 3D printer farm, but she also works upping people's levels in these VR games. A bit like, interestingly, the recent furore with Elon Musk, where he had someone else get him to a level 100 and something. But it was someone else that was doing it.
There's you reminded me of a Cory Doctorow book, which is the one that's set. It's For the Win, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's For the Win.
It's a little bit like that. But then it turns out that she thinks she's in a simulation, and she's actually in the reality of this alternate timeline where everything's been destroyed. And they are basically using her to uncover a mystery of someone going missing, because she's like one of the things she's really good at is exploring and doing detective work.
Yeah.
So because they haven't got anybody like that, they import her using the data tunneling with a what looks like a super up-to-date VR rig to actually fulfill a series of missions in their version of the real world.
Yeah.
So they build her a sort of like an android body so she can move around in that real world.
You can do stuff.
But she's actually hooked up to the internet, which is crossing reality boundaries. It's really good. Because both realities to the people that are in them are the real reality.
I've seen it too.
Yeah,
yeah, so I've seen it too. I remembered about halfway through your description of I'm like, that reminds me of this fucking thing about fucking VR printers and 3D. I'm like, oh, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
I've seen it. It's brilliant.
I've both read the book and I've watched the series, and the series is different, but it's still good.
Yeah,
it's a bit like The Expanse.
Yeah,
whichever way you go around it, there are a few things like that where you read the book and then you watch the TV show and you're disappointed. And there have been a few recently that have really kicked in and been like Dune Prophecy was very good.
Yeah, Dune Prophecy was very good. Enjoyed Dune Prophecy. I don't
like the book doesn't kind of exist, but then you've got the Dune universe. The Peripheral's very good. And Foundation was really good because it's a completely different story to the book, really.
Yeah.
There's like a structure that all those things follow in a way that I think some other things that are still pretty good as a movie or a TV series, and then you read the book. Sometimes one is better than the other.
Yeah, sure. For sure. So there's a good few list of people watching TV. Good few things. There's a week's worth of TV for everyone to go and watch between all those things. Yeah. I'm going to mention something. I haven't listened to it. You might know more about this something. So Robert Harris is a famous author. I know him from a book he wrote about what would happen if the Nazis won the Second World War.
Fatherland.
That's Fatherland. And I read it. I read it because it's just a fucking book I picked up at the op shop type thing. And I haven't got users, the fucking viewers will now realize I have no fucking memory for names, dates, peoples, or anything else important. Everything is stuck in my head visually, which doesn't fucking help because I can't remember the name of any fucking book ever. I know the cover of the fucking jacket and I know like which fucking actor was in it because I can see the actor in my fucking head, but I don't have memory otherwise. Something. Go Kim's fucking autistic brain. But I was listening to someone talking about Robert Harris's collection of 3 books. It's called the Cicero Trilogy, and they were saying that there is an audiobook version of it, which is, I'm always fascinated when there's an audiobook version of something or other type thing. I can say Fatherland, in terms of a jaunt through future history, speculative fiction type thing, is a fucking brilliant. Like in terms of Harris's ability to write, Harris can write. But the Cicero Trilogy, we have this thing where like I, Claudius exists and HBO's Rome exists, etc., etc., etc. Both those things are worth watching. Like if you haven't seen I, Claudius, go and watch I, Claudius. It's Doctor Who budget level in Rome, and it's absolutely fucking brilliant type thing. And HBO's Rome was cut down because they obviously it's fucking TV and they can't fucking make anything type thing. But yeah, it's fucking absolutely fucking brilliant in terms of like it's not. It's as realistic as they can make a TV as make a fictional thing with these. Then they have to have characters that follow on so that people will fucking watch it type thing. But even without that, it's still fucking. It's fascinating to go and get back that history of what the fuck was going on in Rome at that time, and the like you go and read Shakespeare and go and read what the fuck happened in and you get the same outcome type thing. We've got to temper that idea of a truly historical what the fuck happened with the fact that we have some history of what the fuck went on in the Roman Empire, but we don't have like all the fucking Roman records in existence.
I mean, interestingly, they did write shit down a lot. It was
they wrote a lot of shit down.
It's
one of those. Yeah, they are. It's one of the first greatly literate empires type things. Like it's in terms of like the Western perspective on this was going on type thing. Otherwise, elsewhere, much more in-depth otherwise something, but in terms of the Western perspective, right, Rome wrote, like the Roman Empire wrote a lot of shit down, and then we know what the fuck happened. But there's even I'm going to mention an academic whose name is Dr. Roy Casagrande, And you can go and listen to him talking about all sorts of different things. He's got a YouTube channel. It's called the Austin School, was his YouTube channel name. I think it's recently changed, but it's all him. It's him giving presentations, doing lectures out of ACC in Texas, somewhere or other. I think it's the Austin Community College in Texas, where he's a professor. And he's a political scientist who does history and knows a lot about World War II and conflict. And he a lot of political science about conflict. And with that comes an interest in Islamic history, a history of the Roman Empire, a history of what's going on type thing. So you can go, but you've got to remember that like every single historical discussion is based around this is our best guess, or this is what I believe, not this is like the laid out fucking scientific discoveries of this is how it actually fucking works.
Yeah.
The social sciences are not sciences in the same way that classical sciences are. You can't prove what you can prove. I'd say this person in Rome wrote this thing down. This is the recorded history of what the fuck happened according to this person's perspective. But even then, that's one person's written perspective from a certain class, from a certain history, from a certain time within the auspices of a fucking empire, which is completely fucking different than what someone else's perspective on those environments might be. But they're still very, very good and interesting things to go and do. But yeah, Roy Casagrande, fascinating guy, really, really worth following on. He floats around on different YouTube channels because he's forever getting interviewed because he's a leading academic, so he's forever getting interviewed by other people.
Yeah.
But if you put in and search time backwards on Thingo, you've got all of his lectures about what's happening in the Byzantine Empire, what's happening in the Roman Empire, what happened in World War II, how this fucking stuff occurred, and there's some stuff that you just wouldn't know otherwise type thing as far as I can get. But also he's more up to date stuff around because he's a political scientist and he teaches about his two teaching courses, the Texas government and how that works, and then US government and how that works. So if you're sneaky about it, you can go in the back door and you can go and listen to all of his lectures to all of his students every year about him teaching US history to a bunch of first year, second year university students in the US, and then it's what is he telling you about what the fuck is going on, which is how I have any scope of realization about how the fuck the US government works as a behemoth of a thing. It's fascinating. And then how state government works in the same way. You can do the same thing with his Texas government course. I'll leave that to the audience to work out how to do that. It's very, very obvious. Go to his website, look around, poke about. He doesn't hide it well. He's not trying to. But in terms of another good resource in terms of what do we actually know about the Romans? It's really, really interesting.
I mean,
I have to walk to the other room, and I'm going to make a cup of tea on the way, but I can still hear everyone talk. So when I walk off, I'm going to make a cup of tea, and we'll have a brief sojourn while I go and fetch the book because I can't think of the name of the book that I want to tell everyone about because it's in the other room. But I want to make a cup of tea on the way. So yeah, keep talking to me. But I've gone away from the screen.
Okay, it's kind of weird doing that. But so I would mention also The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick, which is
I would mention everything by Philip. I would mention everything by Philip.
Yeah, I think it's one
of the best science fiction writers ever.
One of his less fucking nutty books because he has written some really, really weird books.
Confessions of a Crap Artist.
Also things like he's written loads of stuff. I mean, he kind of wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which were seriously dicked about with.
Yeah. And then making the films.
Yeah.
Yep.
From short stories by Philip K. Dick. Another thing I'd mention would be what's that one with Keanu Reeves?
Jodie Mnemonic, which is
no, that's Gibson.
Scanner Darkly.
A Scanner Darkly, which is supposed to be very close to the book.
Yes. So, it is quite close to the book. I've read both of them. They don't change the supposition of what happens in that film, which is brilliant. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I always say to people, if you want to start reading Philip K. Dick, I always think that people should start with or listen to. I think it's an audiobook version of it. I think you should start with Confessions of a Crap Artist because it's one of the most. It's almost, in terms of how it's written and portrayed, like how it's done, it's almost along the lines of what's the famous novel of someone traveling across America in a car, written by someone off their head on acid.
Oh, do you mean Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson?
Yes. Yeah. So, that's exactly. I can see the fucking front of the fucking front of the fucking film in front of me. It fucking annoys me when can't do this. Right. Um, in the same way that Catch 22 is a person writing about the psychotic episode of their life about a conflict, right? About this conflict that's going on. And it's a fascinating read. Confessions of a Crap Artist is the closest you can get to Philip K. Dick writing about his existence within the world as an artist. It's actually based on historical what the fuck was going on and what he did and what was going on during type thing. Excuse me, scratching my fucking nose. I walked in the other room. It's for cat hair. Um, but yeah, I think everything Philip K. Dick wrote absolutely fucking you would not to get the collected works editions of like go on a fucking collected works of all these things. All of it's absolutely brilliant. They're talking about one of the mainstays of science fiction writing and what the fuck is going on. But don't pass over Confessions of a Crap Artist because it is absolutely fucking fascinating. How when you realize how that person's brain worked or didn't work or whatever the fuck was going on. Yeah. But yeah, everything by him is absolutely fucking wonderful. I'm still waiting for the kettle to finish boiling because I put too much water in it.
And that reminds
I've got two.
I mean, yeah, definitely go and read some Philip K. Dick, but
yeah.
And
then go watch your films. Like all the films, like I can't stand. There was huge hiccups in the production of Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. So if you go and read Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, and then you go and watch what's the fucking film called? It's got Harrison Ford in it.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. Yeah, that's fucking memory wipe there. Very, very quickly you will see the differences type thing. Go and watch the Paul Verhoeven's, I think it's Verhoeven's, but anyway, the Schwarzenegger run of Total Recall, and then go and read the book behind it type thing, and look at the differences in terms of like how these two things are presented, and then how the science fiction, how a director will often get the screenwriter, or the screenwriter will often rework a film to put it to a new direction type thing. The best example of that obviously is one of the best examples of that obviously is going and reading and having some fucking understanding of Starship Troopers by Heinlein, and then going and watching the Paul Verhoeven film and understanding the background of it. What's the gentleman's name who did the 3-part exposition on the Starship Troopers? H something or other on YouTube. Kat, you're getting very excited. There was a YouTube channel about this, and I can't remember the name of the guy's name. Now I have to go to YouTube. Sorry, everyone. Waiting for my brain to work. It's because I haven't fed enough tea this morning.
Okay, this reminds me of another movie that I'd want to include because it was based on a very short story by Kurt Vonnegut, another fine gentleman of science fiction, called Harrison Bergeron, which I don't know if you've ever seen.
I don't think I have. Okay. I've read other stuff by him.
It's a very short story. And essentially everybody in America has got to be equal. It's set in the future in 2081. And so anybody that's better looking has to wear a mask. Anybody that's got athletic ability has to wear weights and stuff like that. And it's essentially about somebody just going, they're all very into it. And then he starts to see the idiocy of preventing people from excelling.
Yeah.
I mean, it would kind of be a right-wing movie today. There's a little bit of the whatchamacallit? There's a little bit of the Ayn Rand in it, but it is still an interesting story. They did make a movie of it. You can find it on YouTube. Made in 1995, made for TV version with Sean Astin and Christopher Plummer in it.
I've got to finish making my tea. I'm still talking to you. Yeah. Excuse me. You can talk to the cat while I'm away. You can talk to me. There's a lot of stuff. I think whenever Rand brings up Rand, I mean, Rand's one of those people who you have to. In my mind, it's exactly the same way as people want to go and talk about Marx and they've never read Marx, right? And like, there's enough of a I can't think of the academic's name. I'll put the links in the show note when I'm back at my computer. David Harvey is the guy's name. There you go. That's what I do remember. David Harvey does a read along of Marx. He is like the world's premier academic in terms of Western writings.
I do love the idea of a read along with Marx.
But that's what you need, right? Like, you don't expect to get into Marx and then fucking understand what the fuck is going on, because Marx is a hard read. It's written at a different time. It's talking about stuff we don't understand, and it's superfluously hidden behind all these other bits and pieces and what's going on. Right? Excuse me, making tea, everyone. I'm very, very sorry. Don't drink my tea, you fucking can't. It's hot to start with. As soon as she fucking walks in, she sticks her head in. I put it down, she sticks her head in the fucking teacup. But David Harvey does a really, really good debrief on how to understand, how to analyze a text, what's fucking going on. I can talk about another. The Society of the Spectacle by Debord was done. It's a fucking hard read, right? Like, you're talking about things that people read at the end of their degrees, and they have a professor to sit down with them and do it, right? And it's like, this is a hard read, right? I'm not suggesting you can't read. I'm suggesting you have to fucking turn your brain on, and you will not understand it. And it is full of difficult languages type thing. It is full of difficult thing going on, right? It's not ununderstandable, but you need some way of being able to. You need a book club or a debrief or someone who's fucking read it, who's analysed it type thing, can point out what the fuck is going on with what's happening just in the language, let alone anything else. David Harvey's a great example where you go to Marx. I can't remember the guy who does Society of the Spectacle. I'll find it for everyone. But these things are not ununderstandable. In the same way that I think that leftists should be made to go and read Rand, right?
Yeah.
People who believe in a right wing.
Read Ayn Rand. Just so you can see how ridiculous it is.
So you can. That's exactly right, because it Rand's analysis, if you actually analyze it, right, if you actually put the time and effort into realizing what the fuck is going on, falls over into the pile of shit that it is quite very, very quickly, right? Like, it's very, very quickly. If you go and look at the history of what Rand went through and where she came from and you very, very quickly work out this person was absolutely fucking destroyed. Like, their life was absolutely fucking pulled apart and destroyed type thing. And I'm very, very sorry that happened. That doesn't mean that she gets to write the book and everyone gets to follow.
Well, I mean, it's very attractive to neoliberals, really. And I'm talking about the American neoliberal thing.
It's the basis of neoliberal thought across the world type thing. That's where it comes from.
I mean, it reminds me of a bit in Douglas Adams. I think it's either So Long and Thanks for All the Fish or Mostly Harmless. And Full Prefect bumped into this woman at a bar. And she goes, "Are you rich?" And he goes,
"Yeah."
"Why?" Because Full Prefect is a space bum. And she goes, "Because I've got a very, very good. I've got a special service for rich people." And Full Prefect goes, "Well, what's that?" She goes, "I tell them it's okay to be rich."
Yeah.
And that just saves you reading Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah. Yeah, like, but I think you should be made to read. I think you should be. Yeah, but I think you should be made to read Atlas Shrugged. Like, in the same way, I think people should be. In the same way that I think a good education would give people the explanation, would give people the skills to be able to go and read Society of the Spectacle.
Yeah,
to go and read Panopticon.
Basically, for want of a better term, and I know it's the thing you must not say, a good socialist education.
You would call it a liberal education in the old term of the word, in the old word of the world. Liberal arts being the study of liberal arts, right? But we don't use the word liberal in the same way anymore, so therefore it doesn't work.
But I mean, yes, it's a fucking
education, and
I think you only need.
We have to read
the Cliff Notes to Marx and the Cliff Notes to Ayn Rand.
I think you need more than that. I think
it's tedious, man.
It is tedious,
Atlas
but
Shrugged and The Fountainhead are just totally tedious films and books to go through.
But the problem is if you don't read Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, right? Like, if you don't actually force yourself to sit down and understand.
Yeah, because somebody's going to say, "Did you read the whole book?"
Never be able.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you will never be able to dispute what the fuck is going on, because they can always gotcha on the most bullshit fact ever. But if you actually read the fucking thing, you realize you can very quickly like fucking sideline every fucking that doesn't follow, logical argument doesn't work, and it's just bullshit. I remember watching. This is a fucking good one. I remember watching The Fountainhead, the black and white film that came out.
Yeah, me too.
God, I think it was made in the 60s. Yeah. I remember watching it as a TV, like, movie of the day type thing with my mum in the 80s type thing. My mum going, like, my mum making me sit down and watch this thing and fucking, like, pay attention to it type thing. Because my mum was a trade unionist. I mean, both my parents are fucking card-carrying communist type thing. I'm quite happily of the fucking ilk that says I'm a fucking actual fucking communist type thing. I'm not talking about fucking like Stalinist, Leninist, Maoist shit. I'm talking about actual fucking communism, right? And there's a distinction there for anyone in the audience who doesn't fucking follow and know what the fuck I'm talking about, right? This is why I have a problem with America as a fucking species. You don't fucking read enough, and you can't get my language out of me. It's fucking super important that we, as an opposition to neoliberalism, understand what we should be able to refute neoliberalism as a fucking thing, as what the fuck is going on, and not in a I can explain it to my 13-year-old way, but in a I have read your seminal works and texts. This is what this author is saying, and then this is why it is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like The Fountainhead is unreadable, right? It's not like it is ununderstandable for anyone with a literate education type thing. It is quite easily readable. I think
it does make you want to push wealthy people under trains.
It does make anyone who has common sense want to push. There's two responses to The Fountainhead. This is the way forward, and that's like 1% of the population, and the other 90% of the population who read it go, the trolley problem is now been solved, right? If it's 10 fucking poor people and one fucking rich person, I guarantee you we're going over the one fucking rich person every fucking time.
Well, I think America's turning that way anyway. Yeah.
We would hope so. We would hope that they are fucking finally waking up from the delusional dream of the Calvinist fucking model. I worked it out, by the way. I worked out. It's the Calvinist. It's the Calvinists within the Roundheads. The Roundheads, the fucking Puritans or whatever. It's the Calvinism within that thing that fucked them up. I'm like, oh fuck! I finally connected it in my study of theology. Yeah, when I finally finish my science masters and I finally finish my fucking literature masters, I'm gonna go and do my theology masters. I worked out because I want to understand all this fucking theology shit that I'm like, it bounces around in there. Yeah,
I've got to
go and learn to read Hebrew and then fucking study some fucking Bible books because there's some interesting shit in there. It really is. Well, it really is. You're back. Again, what are you doing? You're having fun in the window.
I just need to look this up because I do want to know.
That's okay.
There was a designer called Paul Rand.
It's weird because you can tell an arsehole child because of their child names them Rand. There's a whole bunch of Rands. There's a whole bunch of male Rands now, all growing up, and it's like,
such a thing as the Rand Corporation and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's one in the current U.S. politics I'm talking about like things that happen this week in politics. There's a Rand in this week's politics, and I'm like, who the fuck would name their child that type?
Now, here's an interesting thing. Paul Rand changed his name to Paul Rand. Was an art director and graphic designer that pulled the Fountainhead type moment with Steve Jobs, which is why Steve Jobs went with him for the graphics design for Next computers, which is what Jobs did after they did after he got beat out of Apple.
After he got thrown out of Apple. He got thrown out of Apple. Yeah.
So now, weirdly, the Next computer is interesting and amazing in all sorts of ways.
It is fascinating.
It's worth looking up on YouTube. Somebody that's got hold of one of the Next cubes, for instance. And then goes, now what do we do with it? It's amazing. The design, which Steve Jobs was always good at.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, Steve Jobs is a clever bloke, but it's like clever autistic bloke who needed to finish university and then not be the director of a company type thing. Needed to use his superpowers for doing positive, not for making money for himself type thing. But the problem is we have an organization in the world that the outlay of superpower. I'm saying superpower in the most tongue-in-cheek way, by the way. I don't believe it's a superpower. My autism is not. But if you say person good at this, person practice this, person is autistic in this, and then can follow on what's going on type thing, that thing, and then does it beautifully well, right? The outcome of that should be net benefit positive for everyone in the world, not make this person like have more than $1.2 million, right?
So Paul, but just quickly, because we're drifting off this.
We're sidelining.
Paul Rand designed the Next logo, but his gig with designing logos, and he designed logos that are still in use today, like IBM's and Westinghouse and Enron, right? But when his gig was, he would charge $100,000 per design, no reviews, and he got paid either way, whether they used it or not.
Yep. Yep.
So so he designed the Next logo, which is a cube.
Yeah.
With the letters Next on it.
Yep.
I mean, it's a really interesting logo. It was a really interesting computer. Just a beautiful thing, but it was basically Steve Jobs' Randian hero doing I will design this, and like all the connectors on it are bespoke.
Yeah.
There's no upgrade in it apart from putting more memory in it or putting a bigger hard drive in it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing.
It's a modern Mac computer in terms of
if you look at the Next operating system and then you look at a modern Mac.
Mod Mac, they tie together. But even the hardware design, in terms of like, we will have our own connectors based on our own and we not be able to upgrade anything. Like Mac has finally got there, and they've finally, they've been forced kicking and screaming by the EU to say you will have fucking, USB-C fucking connectors on your fucking computer. And as far as I'm concerned, good, right? Like there is something towards the social stream of that of like having standardized connectors, right? There's something to be said about the fact that like, Apple is there is nothing in Apple computer that isn't just Unix or BSD or Linux that has got a surface plate of like someone did a nice graphical design over the top of it type thing, right? There's nothing behind it, right? That's all it is. And these companies obviously, these people and these companies obviously are kicking and screaming by the net benefit for all side of humanity into let's do something for fucking the whole of fucking humanity, because everything you've stolen from, everything you've taken to go and do this next iteration is all based in the common collective works of everyone else giving away their work for free.
Well, yeah.
And if you suddenly think this person is, Paul Rand is suddenly somehow a fucking the design or excellence of the fucking world, and he is everything and da. It takes you 10 seconds of research to realize that everything he's doing is based on a history of art, graphic design, and what the fuck was going on. There's nothing special about what he can do.
No.
Right? There is something special about the way he can project himself within the workplace, how he can portray himself within capitalist culture type thing. None of these things are positive and good. Right? And they probably drove him insane.
Yeah, largely.
I go back to Confessions of a Crap Artist by Philip K. Dick in terms of the delusion. I could point to Psycho by whoever the fuck, not Psycho. What's the name of that book about the CEO that goes fucking nuts in the guy from Trading Hall goes nuts?
American Psycho.
Great fucking book. Banned in Australia. Yeah, it comes in a wrap cover in Australia. It's fucking brilliant. Go and read it. It's really fucking interesting. It's a fascinating look into what the fuck is wrong with America type thing. Don't watch the film. It's shit. It's not shit, but it's not the same as reading the book.
It was written.
The film is very, very good. Yeah, the film is a good, very, 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 very good presentation, but it's not the same as reading the book. I remember my first job in a bookshop, and it coming in, and someone had ordered it because we couldn't keep it on. You weren't allowed to keep it on the bookshelf in Australia back in the 90s when I worked in the bookshop. It's my first job out of getting out of the army. Fuck, it was boring after day one. I could do that job on day one. I was not primed for getting out of the military and then getting a normal job. And I had normal jobs before I went in the army too. I'll point out, none of them were this fucking boring. Being a Stormwater Packer. But yeah, we weren't allowed to keep this book had to be wrapped in plastic, and you weren't allowed to sell it unwrapped in plastic. And the first thing I did was what the fuck was going on with the world where a book came wrapped in plastic, and the cover, it had to be like a buff cover. I think like it had to be like a plain cover. It wasn't allowed to be like the cover that was the painting that someone did for the front cover. Maybe it was a picture before it was a front cover. But yeah, the film, like, worth a watch, but yeah, read the book also type thing. There's much more depth in the book in terms of what's going on. Yeah. Well, we've come to in this whole thing is there's way more media than anyone could possibly read in a week, and there's way more media than anyone could possibly watch in a week in terms of like shit we can just churn out in a 2-hour recording, but also, how fucking great are we at fucking telling stories? How fucking good are we at like sharing information? Like how the fuck, like this, such a fucking bonnet, such a boon, a benefit for society and what's going on type thing. Like how fucking great can this fucking be? how fucking positive can you come as an outcome in terms of like what the fuck actually happens?
Yeah.
Isn't it a wonderful world we live in type thing? Like, of all the shit that's going wrong in the world, of all of the negatives, of all of the bad, like, don't get me wrong, climate change is real, catastrophe is happening. We're facing 2 degrees fucking like rise. The world will fucking end. Like, human beings will fucking, we'll go through the third epoch of human times, right? Yeah, and we're going to get there very, very fucking quickly, and we're going to have to grind ourselves out of it. I would reference J.D. Ballard's the Drowned World. Great fucking story.
Oh, that is a pretty good
There's
book.
A whole bunch of. I think this exists. Loosed Upon the World. It's a whole bunch of the saga anthology of climate fiction. Some really, really good authors. Margaret Atwood, Kim Stanley Robinson. I was reading one the other day. I'll try and find the story for you exactly. I can't think which one it was. 500 and something or other. 520 makes sense in my head. If I can pull the story, but there's some absolutely fucking brilliant fucking stuff being written, made, produced, blah 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 blah, and it's fucking wonderful. I'll find that story out for later. But it's all going sideways. But yet we have all this positive art being made. I'm using art in the literal term of like all the art's being made.
We've got insane shit going on. I mean,
we got insane shit going on. We've got insane positives going on at the same time that, like, the fucking, Trump is being Trumpy and fucking, shit's going sideways type thing. Look to there is some positive in the world as well type thing. Yeah, and our TV show of lists is fucking brilliant type thing.
Yeah,
our TV show of lists is fucking good. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should do like a combined show notes once we get to say 10 episodes. Once we hit 10 episodes, there's like the first 10 episodes.
Yeah. There's the show. Here's all the TV. Here's all the show notes stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm acutely aware that someone sent me a message who put in the info that I asked them last year that we were asking people for about the list book, and I said give us a list of everything you want media people to see, and it's sitting there waiting for me to write it up. And I'm sorry to say that last year I was just like, there was no way it was going to get done because I was writing my fucking thesis. And have anyone ever written a thesis? You'll know exactly where the fuck my brain went. We're writing a thesis and then having a kid and then having life to deal with type thing. And I'm sorry to say, I need a fucking holiday. I need a holiday to recover from my holiday to recover from writing my thesis. And it's not looking good for this year. I apologize because I know that everyone's waiting for me to finish fucking writing that thing up and then putting it in a fucking printable format so we can have it as a thing. And this is easier to do. Like don't get me, like, this is so much easier to do because I get to sit down, talk to Zach, talk to whoever turns up type thing, and we have a fucking chinwag, and it's just a great debrief of the week type thing in terms of, like, giving us enough structure and bits and pieces to go on. But I know we owe everyone a book. I think you're right in terms of like things that would be good. The end of the 10th. We'd probably do after 5 really because there's so much stuff we've talked about.
We're at 5.
Yeah.
If you count the first episode as one where it was kind of difficult to just get it up and running, so it was working.
It still worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still sorry that I missed it because there was so much interesting stuff in that first episode.
I was looking at some of the stuff. I'm going to be doing some adult education at some point soon, and it's sort of like a lot of the meetings that you turn up to and the group exercises
thing. Yeah.
They were sort of like, oh, you can't put record on your Microsoft Teams, and you're like, well, clearly that's nobody that's ever heard of OBS. Because I intend to record every word that the lecturer says so I can go back over it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just record the screen from OBS. And you wouldn't know in Microsoft Teams that I've got record on.
No.
Just like, it's a bit like you can't use AI, which we were looking at your reading list. And all I said to DeepSeek was, give me a lecture, like a short essay on the themes of post-apocalyptic fiction. And it was really interesting because it basically said what it was doing at every stage of putting it together for about 2 minutes. Now I'm looking at this, and this. In post-apocalyptic fiction, I've found the following major works and blah, blah, blah. And it goes, now I'm looking at the themes, and then it spat out the essay. It was like a 3-page essay on post-apocalyptic fiction, which obviously you wouldn't do. Because but it at least structured the essay into an acceptable format, and you're like, oh, this is what they're looking for.
Yeah. the difference is the reason why people don't understand. The reason why you go to university
is to learn how to make those determinations yourself.
Determine yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reason why people, and that's not what's done. That's not why the majority of people go and get degrees in Australia. It's not the reason why the diploma mill, the degree mill exists in the Western world, etc., etc., etc. It exists so that those people can go get a job in middle management somewhere or other. Now, being the filthy fucking, like, crusty fucking anarchist that I am, right, anarcho-communist that I am, I don't think that middle managers should exist. I don't think that those jobs should exist. I am, like, talking about fucking, like, weird shit that Kimby's quite happy to do.
Basically, you could pay everybody. You could sort of take all the middle managers. Say you've got a manager for every 5 people. That manager's on $40,000 a year, for example, or $50,000.
I would pay them $40,000 a year to write haikus and paint fucking.
But the thing is, if everybody were to do their job, and everybody had the tools to, say, interact with HR, the tools to interact as an office functionary, and book their holiday, and have some sort of system that said, well, you can't really book your holiday off then because somebody else has already booked it. You'll need to renegotiate with them. And if you had, like, just okay, I'll go and have a word with Pete. Do you really need that week off? Because I really need that week off type shit. And you did a bit of negotiation and people weren't dicks. You wouldn't need that middle manager. And basically your rebate for not being a prick is 1/5 of your middle manager's salary. It's like that. We've managed to not be a prick for 6 months. Here's $5,000 of that middle management salary. And if you manage to not be a dick for another 6 months, you get another $5,000 as a not being a dick bonus. Because we didn't have to employ a middle manager because you sorted all this sort of middle managery shit out yourselves. You did your job. You interacted with each other respectfully, and you helped maintain the cohesion of the team, which is all the middle managers do. So it's
So I'm going to mention 2 things here. Okay. I'm going to try and find for everyone in the chat. It's going to take me a while because I can't. So to understand the argument that I presented there very, very quickly, that I don't like, in my anarcho-capitalist world, that there are those people who just there's so much work that is unnecessary that is just destroying the planet. Like, that's the basis where my mind goes. I think if you want the history of where that comes from, go and read Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber. David Graeber wrote a bunch of stuff. Go and listen to everything he ever produced. He's passed now.
Oh yeah, he's a total loss to the world.
Total fucking loss to the fucking world.
Good shit. He just needed to hang out.
He was coming up with some amazing stuff, and he was, but also he had the muse in him. Something he could deliver stuff well. He was
quite a personable bloke.
He's personable bloke in terms of presenting fact and information, and what he was presenting is a theory, and then making it explainable and understandable to people. That's where his brilliance lied. Don't get me wrong, right? Yeah. So, but go read Bullshit Jobs if you want the interlude of what's going on. That's where that fucking argument comes from. Then go and read Bob Black's anti-work series. There's a bunch of works that Bob Black did. I'll put a link to the show in the show notes. But Bob Black is where that argument starts. And it's fascinating. There is something, and then people will often respond with, but how does it work otherwise? Like, how do you do that otherwise? Something like, what the fuck are you talking about? How the fuck can that possibly run? How can we possibly run the systems we run doing the thing we want to do? There is a documentary, and it's about one particular company that's run in Greece. It's the Co-op. It's a bit like the Mondragon. If anyone knows the Mondragon process in Spain, I want to say it is, runs the biggest cooperative venture in terms of what the fuck is going on. Like, they came out of like the CNTF AIF, and then subsequently under Franco. But it was one of the biggest cooperative ventures. It's one of the biggest cooperative ventures in the world type thing. Co-ops do not have the be all and end all. There are still issues with what goes on. There are still problems in what occurs, but in terms of what the fuck is going on, way more fucking useful, right? Much more fucking. So if you want the analysis of how the fuck do you get out of that situation with middle managers and this and that, and how do you solve these problems, the answer is you go and start reading anarcho-syndicalist fucking texts and go and understanding what the fuck these people are talking about, and then you don't dispute it, and then you don't say this is the fucking answer. You say this is the starting point. This is the beginning of our understanding. There's a great documentary about a Greek chemicals and soap manufacturing company, right, where the guys will basically put out of work. Everyone on the shop floor, from like office staff to fucking everyone up type thing. The managing director went like, I can't run this anymore type thing, blah 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 blah, and all the workers went out on strike. Now they didn't go on a strike as in like we're going to stop working. They went out on a strike as in this is now our building, and we're now going to take this as being our fucking factory, and we're now going to fucking run it. And they collectively organised the means of production in that factory, and that fundamentally shifted, like where what they were making, how they were doing it, what the fuck was going on. But the factory still makes something. And it's still doing good by the people working there. And those people working there are still making a product that is needed by the community around them type thing. Like, we need fucking soap, right? Like, no one's going to dispute the fact that you need fucking soap within the modern world type thing. But also, let's make soap that everyone not only needs, but it's good for the environment. Let's make it out of, like, things that we can make that, like, aren't fucking, like, bad for you. And let's make it out of things that when we wash our hands with them, we can, put that water into green waste recycling, and then we can use it in our gardens type thing. That's all fucking common sense. The other side of that argument is Dow Chemicals causing the fucking one of the biggest fucking toxic pollution, like causing the toxic pollution fucking scare of the fucking in Bangladesh, in terms of fucking up the fucking environment. Bhopal, the Bhopal disaster, right? It's called a disaster for a fucking reason, right? We can't do this. You can't do this on a consumer ethic. This is where Rand is this is where Rand's argument falls apart, right? Yeah, going back 400 fucking steps. But there's something fucking interesting in terms of how this stuff can be reworked by us as individuals, by us as a collective unit of working class people type thing. And none of us are fucking rich, right? I posit to you that none of us are fucking rich. We're better off than the fucking people living in sub-Saharan Africa. We're still fucking working class people, and we're all still fucked, right? And when push comes to shove and the climate catastrophe actually fucking occurs, I think one of the best examples you could talk about is Walk Away by Cory Doctorow. I mean, fucking every fucking Cory Doctorow book is a fucking
you should always Cory Doctorow. That's an author you should read everything by, from Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom all the way to the latest. Outputs. The outputs, and he's just released. I think he's on tour now, talking about new. It's one of his Paul, whatever his name is, the spy ones about it's about an ACC accountant. About a forensic accountant who goes around doing fucking amazing stuff. But yeah, Walk Away. Absolutely fucking fascinating book. But that's the model of operation for the next human existence type thing. Yeah.
And it obeys. Let's say that it obeys Cezanne's arguments against collectivism, against the communist middle, right? Yeah. But it also obeys the anarchist breakdown of Cezanne is a primitivist, and he talks about what is wrong with society in its current form, and what would be what was the problem with the he's an academic talking about the issues under collectivization, under organization, under structure type thing. And lots of the shit he says is absolute fucking batshit lunacy. Like, lots of the stuff he says is absolute batshit lunacy. In the same way that lots of the shit that Ayn Rand talks about is batshit lunacy. There is nothing wrong with taking the arguments of Ayn Rand and then saying, if we have gifted people who are good at what they do, these people should have, the opportunity to do good in the world. There's nothing wrong with that argument. The argument comes about when those people can use their latent superpower of goodness in terms of what they're doing to destroy the lives of everyone else around them, right? One of these things is a net positive. One of them is a net negative for the world, right? Doing good in the world for everyone around you and yourself and making the whole world a better place is a really fucking amazingly positively fucking, that's the reason why you're a fucking socialist type thing. That's the reason why you believe in communism fucking works something. That is the reason why you fall on that left-wing spectrum of fucking society, is because you believe good can happen out of human endeavor type thing. Yeah. Otherwise, it's just lock up all people who don't fucking agree with me type thing. It's it's fucking bad, but that's why you have to understand this stuff. That's why you've got to go and fucking read Ayn Rand to understand her argument, what the fuck she's talking about. The Fountainhead is a fuck.
A similar argument to reading Mein Kampf today, and it's like,
there's something to be said. There's something to be said for
Yeah,
go see where the fucking flags are type thing. Don't go and read fucking Mein Kampf because it's a good fucking read. It's not. It's fucking Reddit. It's fucking read type thing, right? Yeah. But in the same way that you should go on and fucking understand what the fuck was going on and why we should never fucking do this again and how fucking delusional this person was and how fucked up this person's life was. Like, there's something to be said for the fact that, like, that had Hitler been put into other circumstances throughout his childhood, throughout his existence, had World War One not been as completely fucking demoralizing as it was for the German people, had they then not had the Versailles Treaty fucking thrust upon them type thing, and their country been destroyed by the machinations of capitalism, because that's what fucking did it, right? That party would have never got established. That party would have never done what it did, and we wouldn't have faced 6 million fucking dead Jewish people and an accoutrement of others in those fucking death camps type thing. The net benefit was not fucking good. The outcome of that thing was we had a fucking workers' revolution occur under, in across most of the fucking Western world, across most of the fucking big name power stuff thing. Shit happened. The problem is we didn't learn a fucking lesson, and we're going to cycle back to that fucking same fucking the same fucking shit again and again and again, unless we all grow up and go, hang on a second. There is but one race of human beings on the fucking planet of the Earth. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, type thing. It doesn't matter what fucking gender ideology, gender fucking identifications you have with the fucking world, type thing. This is all just fucking give it a fucking way, type thing, and then you start looking at it going like, it's okay. We're allowed to fucking, you're allowed to fucking disagree with that about the really, really unimportant shit. But let's agree with the fact that, like, killing people is a really fucking bad idea, it's not a fucking, we don't want to do that shit again. It's really fucking bad. And that excuse for why we had that thing happen was an excuse, and it was a really fucking bad. We should never allow that to be committed again, type thing.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, we live in a world where 100 years after it happened last time, we're going down exactly the same fucking path again, which is fucking scary to do.
Well, interestingly, Zelensky has been received by Keir Starmer and is going to go and see the King tomorrow.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the King. I don't like the King.
Well, no,
I think he should have his head cut off.
It's basically,
for my talk of don't kill. Don't kill people. Like, the King is getting guillotined in my world. But in terms of good news,
going to offer Trump like a head of state visit.
Yeah. And instead, Zelensky gets it instead. Good. This is the good thing.
Well, maybe as well as. But it's going to really piss off.
I believe, and there was a lot of reviews yesterday.
No, it's not my opinion. I'm just saying I reckon they'll still let Trump do a state visit, but they're basically giving Zelensky.
I think it should be removed.
A mini state visit this weekend.
Yeah.
Because everybody in Europe's going, oh no, you got to fuck off.
Yeah. Oh no, you've got to fuck off, and that's a good thing. Like that's the collective will of the European people, not just the fucking people in charge, but the collective works of people is saying to Russia, no, fuck off, you're not fucking invading anywhere, type thing, right? Sort out your own shit at home, right? We can all be friendly, and we can all do this. We can all do trade, and we can all be positive. We can all fucking like lift everyone, floating tide, tide level higher type thing. Let's get everyone sorted type thing. Let's sort out all the fucking problems, and let's sort all of these fucking issues out. And that's way harder than blaming it on or invading someone else and saying they're the fucking enemy and this is the reason why. Yeah. But let's take it to the positive type thing instead of doing the fucking shit. Let's fucking let's explore the fucking positive instead.
Yeah.
Because there is fucking positive. There is fucking amazing shit.
We live in an age of wonders. I keep saying this to people.
Fuck yeah. Completely.
Look at all the crazy shit you can do if you feel like it.
Yeah.
Now that you can buy second hand. Please buy second-hand stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
going to mention. I'm going to mention two things before I forget. It directly ties into the complication of Russia invading Ukraine. Right? I'm going to posit this in this way: there is absolutely nothing wrong with everyone being fitter than they are now. Right? Absolutely nothing wrong with it. And the reason why this has been a listen to like week one, because I listened to you guys make the 0 episode, and I'm like, that's the thing I wanted. This is the thing, and I finally got to it in week 5. Week 5 episode. There's 3 things I'm going to mention, and they're all very off topic for lots of other stuff we've talked about. But I want to prose it in that way. I'm going to posit it in that way of the invasion of Ukraine was unseen. We didn't realize we there were signs of it, and we could say it was going to happen and da 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 da, but no one actually realized that Putin was ever going to fuck up his own country the way he did by invading Ukraine and fucking up Ukraine the way he did. I posit that in the same way that Once We Were Shadows, I think that's what it's called. I'll have to go and fucking look at the book. Is the story of Australia being invaded type thing, right? We can learn from that prose, we can learn from that story type thing, and there's something positive in it type thing. But the outcome, the solution to that problem, the individual solution to that problem, going back to individual things we can change, is we can all get fitter, we can all get healthier, we can all work on our fucking education, we can all work on our education, we can all work on our education. I haven't said enough times yet. We can all work on fucking education. We can also all work on our fitness, right? The best model I have for that, which I wanted to talk back in like week fucking one, I never got to it, something, and it's been on the list of talk about this thing. The British Army Fitness Standard manual, which was published by the Guardian, it's subsequently changed. They've subsequently updated it, and they've finally gone another way. The Army Fitness Manual, as it was published by the Guardian, it's available for on archive.org. I'll put a link in the show notes type thing. Is the best fucking way of getting your absolute fucking fitness going and how to start, and then it goes to the end, it goes to the nth degree, right? Somewhere in it, as both of us did this thing, it gets fucking hard fucking quick, but you get fucking fast. You get fucking good at what you're fucking doing, right? Type thing.
Yeah, you do.
But there are issues in what it's talking about. There's issues, but once you understand the mechanics of what's going on, which we could probably have a conversation with to the sideline if anyone ever wants to have a conversation with me about where it goes otherwise, something. But it is the best, right? I have my little show notes. Still the best resource I can point to. Needs expanding for members of community. Where is the swimming program, rowing program, cycling equivalency type thing? The strength work in it is rubbish and needs rewritten in this section, right? I'll get there. Hard to follow in areas, but it's still the best we have in terms of taking you from couch potato to running 5 kilometers, or having the fitness to run 5 kilometers, or having the fitness to swim, or having the fitness to row, doing whatever the fuck did you want to do. Go and look at it. Start incorporating it, little tiny bits. Yeah, start just fucking doing that thing. If I can possibly advise you to do anything, something. In terms of the strength work, Starting Strength, which is a book written by Mark Repetto. Don't listen to anything he says, has to say otherwise. Something. He's very draconian in terms of what the fuck he talks about. He's a right-wing loon in many thoughts of what he's going. In terms of the book that explains how do you fucking do strength exercises and how do you get stronger, he wrote the book. He wrote the manual that is easy to understand and what the fuck you do and how the fucking thing works. Type thing. It's not the be all and end all. It's the starting point. It's a novice progression of what's going on. There was a book written by one of his predecessors called The Strongest Shall Survive, and there's a subsequent book called Practical Programming, which is all written, they were all associated with what's going on. You can steal them from where you steal good books type thing. Starting Strength made a bunch of fucking resources available on the internet. They basically made the video archive of how do you teach someone. So if you're not good at reading, or you want a visual clue, or you want Repetto talking to you about how the fuck do I actually get in a position to do a squat or do the bench press or do the fucking deadlift and how do I do it safely, all the video resources are on YouTube. Go and do it type thing. Along the same vein, I was trying to think of the same thing for the other skills, and the best I can come up with, and I really want the feedback, because I know there's people who know more about this than I do type thing. I went through military training. I was taught how to safely execute firing at the enemy but never hitting anyone. Go read Psychology of Killing by,
isn't it On Killing?
On Killing? Yeah. On the psychology of killing?
Just On Killing.
On Killing.
That's the main part of the title.
Yeah. To understand why you don't want to fucking kill people, but in terms of what you want to do, go and understand the book. But the book I'm going to refer to in terms of the skills to actually operate a rifle, The Art of the Rifle by Cooper, right? It's the best thing I can point to in terms of understanding how and where, and I posit that in the fact of arming the left is the greatest thing we can possibly do within the next 5 to 10 years, right? I want every single gay person I know to own a fucking firearm. I want every single trans person I know to own a fucking firearm. I want you all to be trained to the umpth fucking skill to know how to operate these things safely and know when and how and what the fuck is going to happen to you after that thing occurs. But that is the greatest thing we can fucking do it. There's a great bit of resource that was done about a month ago called Arming the Left. I'll put a link in the show notes, something, in terms of what we face and what the fucking outcome will be of the right wing coming to power, and what the fuck occurs. And that means different things in different countries, and it means different things around the world, because that's just the way, because we live in a polarized different nature. It's a different thing in the US. It's a different thing in Australia. It's a different thing within different states of Australia. It's a different thing within different states of the US type thing. And it's a different thing in the UK. But along those veins, make yourself more deadly, yeah? And then know how to exhibit that force. Yeah, know how to use that fucking force and what the fuck to do with it type thing, because those times are fucking coming. As positive as I want to be in doing our book review and what's going on, you know, having those fucking skills, knowing how to survive situations, knowing how to like work in a disaster, all those things we talk about week, they're all fucking important and they all need to be understood. And we all have somewhere to go. We all have somewhere to work on type thing in terms of new knowledge, in terms of getting stronger, fitter, blah, 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 blah. We can all fucking work somewhere towards making ourselves the best person we can possibly be. And then sharing that information, sharing that knowledge about how we fucking do that and what the fuck comes out of it type thing. I think that's the basis of this little fucking, you know, science experiment we have been running now for fucking 20 years. That's literally the outcome of it.
Yeah, upgrades.
Yeah, upgrades. Yeah. There's my spiel for the week. Because no one came and talked to me apart from Zach. Zach, do you have any outgoing feedback on what I just said, or do you have any other amazing things that people should fucking?
I fully agree.
Talk about?
I mean, I've got like a Mr. Toad attitude to life, in that there's always something that comes along and you're like, oh, and it's really easy to do that.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, I went shopping the other day, and I came back with just groceries because there wasn't anything other I wanted to get. I fully believe. I mean, if you live in the UK or America or anywhere that's got charity shops, go and have a look around, because you'll always find something interesting. And right now, joy of joys, it's a bit like my rule for taking up a new hobby is go and buy something reasonably good secondhand, because anything with a learning curve will be initially popular, and then about 18 months later it will be in a secondhand shop or a charity shop. But you can also get to a point in life where you've got, and I got to take my hat off to my mate Stan, is you've got supplies acquired beyond life expectancy. You can get to a point where you've just got enough stuff. You've got loads of things that you could learn. You've got loads of interesting things to dick about with and do. And you can just go, right, okay, like I'm never going to be a virtuoso guitar player, but I've got a guitar. I'm never going to be able to necessarily play the piano particularly well, but I've got a MIDI keyboard that connects with my cheap PC that does that. I've got cameras
that does everything.
To do stuff with. I've got VR systems that I can play with, all sorts of shit. And every couple of months, some new piece of software that'll allow you to do all these fun things will come online and be open source and free. You've got access to so much stuff, so many bits and bobs that you could be doing that will upgrade you and increase your understanding of stuff. And amazingly, things like books and media are so cheap right now. Because nobody wants them, and you can just take.
No one wants. You know, I mean, I bought all my reading list for this trimester secondhand off of like eBay World of Books, and I'm talking about like I can't go get it. I've got a copy of like, do you mind? You know, you come to visit. Here's Cat Cucumber. Say hello to the audience. I bought a copy of my professor's like textbook, secondhand. It's like it's an academic textbook. If you've been to university, you know how much academic textbooks. It's like that fucking thick. It's a thesis of what he's talking about. Habermas and literary fiction type thing. Literary fiction and Habermas is the title of it by Butcher. That book cost me $25 posted inside of Australia type thing. It took a week to get delivered, and it's secondhand because someone's put it in the op shop after they finished reading it type thing. Yeah. That book, to buy it brand new, if I bought it brand new from like whoever the fucking whoever the fucking academic publisher in, would be $150 Australian type thing, £75, $75 US type thing, right? Like the fact that we have all of these fucking resources, everything's online. That's not a fucking good solution. But you know, you can buy so many fucking books secondhand. It's fucking
insane. That shit offline, because
you can buy them from fucking charity shops. You can buy enough books to fill a fucking library up, so you never run out of fucking things by just walking into the charity shop and just picking up a fucking. And the thing is every time I go into a charity shop, they're forever running like $5 for a bag of books.
Yeah.
Right. So like £2.50 for a bag of how many books can you stuff into a fucking bag, into your bag? Give us $2.50 because we've got too many fucking books at the back. We don't fucking want any more of them. How many fucking DVDs can you buy for them? Just shit that they will throw away type thing. I got my copies of I think it's about 2/3 of it type thing of the literary studies books that I was talking about earlier in the show. I got a load from an op shop for a $5. All the fucking, like, I should take a picture of it, but it's like all the fucking, like, 2/3 of this fucking series of books type thing. And it's like there's more information in those books than what you would read at a year of university if you just wanted to go and fucking read for university. Go and fucking search them out.
Our beloved leader, Sean Kennedy's beloved leader. But Sean Kennedy basically got all the people on Rangers together, really.
Yeah.
And he said you've got more information than a king in the modern age, and that was 25 years ago.
25 years ago, and it's only gotten better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I've got
Dr. O's law still applies. It has become infinitely easier to steal things. It will never be any harder than it is right now than to steal shit. You copy things you're not supposed to have, but also it's only become easier to fucking get secondhand books out of the fucking op shops.
Yeah.
People are throwing away encyclopedias into rubbish as we speak. They don't want them anymore. You've got to be fucking joking.
I think because I've got 4 now. We're going back to the Pears Cyclopedia.
I was talking about my Britannica series, Britannica set, but yeah.
But my last Pears Cyclopedia. What did I get? I got 6 records and a Pears Cyclopedia for £1. So it was probably about 15p.
Yeah.
15 pence.
It's and you're talking about something that had you have given that to someone in, say, let's go back to Dickinson's time, like Charles Dickens. If you'd have given that book to Charles Dickens, he would have bowed down at his fucking. He would have fallen to the fucking floor in terms of what the fuck was contained within it type thing.
Yeah.
Give someone a fucking,
a lot more than 15 pence.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you just gave that book for any book, but if you just gave that and said in the future, not only will your books be in the op shop that you can buy them for nothing, like essentially fucking like spare change out of your wallet type thing. Not only will your books be in this way type thing, but also here's the world knowledge by what we see it type thing and what the fuck is going on with the world. There's something to be said for the fact that
But the mad thing of how accessible it is, I really need to start going to the library, because they often sell books off super cheap.
Yeah. It's my great. There's actually I can't think of the name. The person who posited the theory. There's a theory within library studies, because library studies is an actual field of academic studies, that on-time delivery of thingos should be delivered that way, and it's one of the weirdest fucking theories ever. You read it and it is like, it's one of those things that I will die on my fucking on my castle, die on my hill, saying this is the dumbest fucking thing ever, because libraries should get bigger every year, right? They should get bigger every year because more books are made, and they should never get rid of old books. Yeah, libraries should be building their collection, every fucking year.
Yeah,
and you might not have every book in your library, but you definitely should have access to all the fucking works that exist, type thing. And you should be able to turn around. There should be some way, some easily social way of saying to anyone who's ever written a book, I'm going to take your book and I'm going to republish it on the version 5.0 of bookmaking machine that then spits it out, prints it out for me type thing, and then makes it happen type thing without me having to fucking think about it, so that I could read your book, and it fucking happens. Time, gentlemen, please, thank you.
We are at time. Okay, so
we are at time.
It's been
Cucumber, say goodbye.
A quiet Saturday night, but the wonders of modern technology, as in for very little money. We've got video chat with Australia.
Yeah. Well, I've got video chat with the mother country of the UK.
Yeah. And we're able to broadcast it and have a fun discussion. But we're going to call it there. And take care. Look after
see everyone
yourself,
in the after party.
And we'll see you in the next one. And we'll be in the talky talk for a bit longer if you want to join in.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks.